Hi, welcome to another one of our videos, and today I'm going to show you two exercises that we use for a rowing action where we're, especially for people with shoulder impingements and various shoulder injuries, and where they may be actually creating more problem with exercises that should be helping them. So, and the rowing exercises are a classic. So here's a version where we've got like using a bar, and there's a reason for this to help us with the grip, and to sort of get like a wider placement so the person doesn't depress their shoulder too much. This is great for the person with a depressed shoulder because they can't depress it, the barbell sort of stops them. So the main thing when we see with this, and Nathan's showing you here, is with his hand, he's going to move it wider, right? And he's sort of measuring like a thumb distance away from the edge of the bar there. All right, now most people would have had where his hands were close, which brings him in too close. Out here, and you'll see when he actually does this exercise, when he pulls it down, we get like his elbows away from his body. All right, so a lot of people really crank the elbows in too close, and you'll see how he's pulling. We're using a lunge stance here, so he sort of gets a bit of momentum. This is a great way to encourage good posture on this exercise, so it's an excellent rowing movement you can use. But you can see how he can't get his elbows closer to him because they're stuck to the bar. It's where if it was a cable or other, even dumbbells, to be honest, you can move that, right? So now the other thing you'll see here is when he gets to there, this is where we see people get into trouble with rowing movements because the elbow will come back too far, which pushes the front of the shoulder forward and stretches through the capsule here. They'll get an excessive amount of pulling, depression through by squeezing the shoulders too much. Which then gives them all sorts of trouble when their shoulder, when it needs upward rotation, which we see a lot with impingements and rotator cuff tears and stuff. So even though rowing exercise is good, if you pull them too far past your body, then you're going to get in trouble. Now the beauty of the bar here is it stops you because it hits your chest, so he can't come any further back, where if it was with a cable he could keep coming, even a dumbbell. All right, so you can sort of see here that even probably he's gone a little bit too far there. So if I bring him back, and we'll see it do it again. So if I would probably like to see him stop about there, where, see if he keeps coming, you know, we get that little bit too much. About there would be nice, but you can see that's almost on his chest. All right, so this is where we get like an even amount of work through the posterior part of the shoulder, which is the weaker part, but he's still getting enough here, but not too much. All right, so I used to be one of the people who think you can never get too much there, but you can, and that's where you get the massive trigger points and going into neck pain. But you create all sorts of problems through that scapula, because when you need your arms to move overhead, they can't because the rhomboids are hanging onto them, so you don't get this upward rotation of the scapula. All right, so too many rowing things are not good for you. If they're done excessively too much, it's not good for you. So I'm going to show you another exercise in a second, which is very similar in a different angle, and it's the bent over row. All right, so let's have a look at that. Okay, so following up from the cable exercise, we've got the bent over row here. So Nathan's going to show you like the standard. Most people have a standard grip where their hand is right next to their leg, and that's sort of not necessarily wrong. But if you've got a shoulder problem, and especially if it's a depressed shoulder, you would really want to use a wider grip, and this is where most people grab the bar there, right? So where I would recommend to grab the bar is to get a better shoulder placement and not get excessive tension through the rhomboids, is use your thumb as a guide to sort of grab it where the rough bit sort of stops. You'll see where Nathan, that right there, all right? So see how he measured that grip right then? That's where you want to sort of find, so I'll just take that back, and you'll see there, all right? So that's where you can use this as a guide as to where you want to grab the bar, which is a lot wider than what people would want to do. Now, the beauty of that is it doesn't allow you to pull it too far back behind you, and you'll get that even amount of workload between the rhomboids, the middle traps, all the big heavy guys, and the weaker guys. If you get a little bit too close, you can sort of really wind up the big guys, which is, in some ways is a good thing, but if too much of it becomes a bad thing, and you'll disrupt your scapular timing when you've got overhead movement. So, and we'll watch Nathan complete the bent over row here, and he will show us a couple of other things that people do wrong in this exercise that really turns it from being a great exercise into a really bad one. All right, so he's showing you some good form there. He's really still. He's got some good. He's got a beautiful bent over action there, and he's not moving around at all with his head. So he's really still. And this is where you see bad form, and see how he chops it into him, and his head will really push forward, that's really bad form. All right, so he wants to sort of stay really still, and see how his elbows right there will finish in line with him. So you'll see when he's coming back up, as I'm bringing it back, see how, because that wide arm action, he can't get it any further past him. All right, where if he had his hands closer, he'd be pulling it really far past him. All right, so just like the cable one we saw before, this is how you can use a different hand placement to get better timing, and you'll find you'll be a lot stronger. You'll actually probably find you'll have to put the weight down. You feel a bit weaker, but you'll be a lot stronger in the areas where you're actually quite weak and you didn't know it. And you'll find that you'll have no shoulder problems as time goes on, because everything's functioning and getting an even amount of work. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed those two videos, and we'll see you on our next one.